you know.
Your personal assistant doesn't already do that when they follow you around?
It's like a soundtrack, really, you know. It's like a personal soundtrack.
It just fits.
Yeah.
Just like you being here today. It's wonderful. We love to see you. One of the more highly anticipated matchups as we dive in of the season went down Wednesday when the Lakers took on the Clippers. Both teams entered their final meeting of the season tied in the standings. But unfortunately, this one ended with the purple and gold losing their 11th straight to their hallway rivals. Darvin feels that there were various factors that influenced the loss.
I mean, the trip we just came off, you don't want to use excuses. Sometimes they're not excuses. They're just real-life circumstances. And we knew in order to make a game of it and give ourselves a chance, we had to start the right way. And, you know, obviously getting in very late, dealing with some different types of weather and different elements, it was going to be tough. And so, but still, you know, our group was competitive. The game could have been easily over in the first half, but again, we calibrated at halftime. Guys came out, competed their butts off, tried to give us a chance to win, and you know, we didn't come away with the W, but I'm super duper proud of our team on the way they performed tonight after getting down and facing a little bit of adversity within the game, but also just over this last stretch of weeks and month or whatever it's been. Guys just constantly fighting and clawing, and we've mishandled a couple games here and there in terms of allowing teams to stay close or get back into it, whatever. But nonetheless, this is a prideful, competitive group, and we had some things that just didn't go our way, and you know, it was definitely a lack of energy at the outstart and lack of execution, but we pulled ourselves together to try to give ourselves a chance, and that's all you can ask for.
Well, I think they did come out very hot, you know, shooting the ball. Slow start for us. You know, obviously they, you know, been out for a couple days. You know, we went into overtime last night, not using it as an excuse. But that's kind of, I think that's what led to our slow start. We came out with a lot of energy. You know, and then the game, you know, games where it's back-to-back, you know, you can't really, you know, start slow. You know, that's what we did. You know, missing shots, giving them open looks. Was able to cut it back. Now you have to exert all the energy that you have to you know, cut the lead down instead of pushing the lead up.
So, of course, a big game versus the Clippers. The Lakers drop it and lose their 11th straight to their hallway rival. A lot of factors in this one that put the Lakers in a difficult spot, if you will. And I am not one to agree with excuses made, but I will lean into the truth, and I liked the reality that Darvin laid out.
Yeah, and no doubt, Allie. I mean, look, this team went from Utah back to L.A. I don't remember a back-to-back ever like that. I've been around this team 19 years now. Maybe it happened at some point in the past, but that's a lot to ask, you know, especially when they've been on the road already for a week, and that was their fourth road game, the Utah game, in the span of just, you know, a handful of days. So to have them come back and play against the Clippers, who had been rested since Saturday, that just seemed like a lot to ask. So I'm not surprised that the Clippers ended up winning this. Obviously, they really wanted to win it because that man, Kawhi, played the entire second half, Kevin, like it was Game 7 of the conference finals or something like that. So the Clippers went all out against a pretty weary Laker team, and we saw the result of that.
Yeah, I honestly, I give the Lakers some credit for kind of clawing into this game a few times. I thought it was going to be an easy Clippers victory, especially what you mentioned. They were well rested. They wanted the game more, honestly, even though they'd beaten the Lakers so many times in a row. They wanted the game more, which on a very simplistic level is the best way to gauge who is going to win an NBA regular season game. Well rested, wanting it more, and as much as the Lakers did want to win that game, they weren't facing a team that was just showing up either. So I give the Lakers credit. I'm not going to indulge any of the negativity. Big picture-wise, the Lakers are in a pretty good spot. They emerged from the long trip relatively healthy, emerged from this game relatively healthy. So honestly, I think the Lakers were supposed to lose that game. I think it was one of the worst NBA lines I've ever seen, that the Lakers were favored to win that game. I thought that was ludicrous, and the Clippers should have won. They did.
Obviously, as Darvin mentioned, as you guys were just touching on, just that energy, competitive spirit. You saw the early run in response from the Lakers, and then that 19-3 run there in the third quarter, showing some sort of fight. The one question that I had, obviously, coming out of that one is obviously health is the priority. But I asked the guys what can be gained, because, again, this is a team that hasn't spent a lot of time together. And you're just 2 games away from the postseason in whatever form that looks like. So what is a bright spot you can take away?
Well, I think the fact that LeBron and AD both played the second day of a back-to-back, you have to give them credit for that. And they played heavy minutes the night before. LeBron played 38, AD played 42. And the very next day, here they are back in LA playing pretty good workloads. Not what they played the night before in an overtime win, but it's good to see those two be able to snap back right away, because it just shows how healthy they are. And thankfully, that's the last back-to-back of the season. There are no such things as back-to-back in the playoffs or even the play-in tournament. Unless you are in that 9-10 game, then you're kind of susceptible to a possible back-to-back. But that's it. That's their last stress test, their last endurance test. As far as being able to show up and play a solid workload, they did it. Yeah,
and to take it a step further, Brez, the Lakers need opportunities to play with LeBron and AD.
Yeah.
These Lakers, even the long-term Lakers are guys who've been there one season, I mean, in a lot of these cases. So getting court time with them is not a waste to me. I mean, I know a lot of people, especially the last, like 5 minutes, like, why are these guys still out there? Maybe that's questionable, but it's valuable for the guys to get time with the superstars out there. There's no practice time at this point in the season. And like I said, some of the veteran guys with them are not really guys who know all their ins and outs either. So it is a valuable opportunity. I don't know if it qualifies as a bright spot, but if they're healthy, it's a positive that they're out there. And I will say another bright spot is LeBron looked absolutely dominant at most of that second half, which is always something you want to see given all the ups and downs of this season.
Absolutely. So how does that fit in the bigger context of this game? There was a lot at stake in the Western Conference playoff picture in Wednesday's matchup. Ty Lue sharing this quote before the game: "This is probably the first meaningful game we played against them." And if that wasn't enough to show you how big the game was, just look at Kawhi Leonard's stats. He played 43 minutes. I repeat, 43 minutes, had 25 points on the night, hitting 9 for 17 from the field while knocking down 4 threes. It was the first time Kawhi Leonard played all 24 minutes of a half in a game since, you mentioned, Brez, it felt like the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah.
I'll make it one better. First time, in a game since Game 7 of the 2013 NBA Finals.
What?
Take a listen.
Kawhi, I know every game you play against is an important game, but is this the most meaningful game you've played against the Lakers in the time you've been here?
I didn't feel that way.
Just with everything that's like at stake in terms of the playoff season.
I didn't feel that way.
He didn't feel that way. One guy didn't feel that way.
Typical long-winded Kawhi response.
Basically, we are making a lot to do about nothing, according to Kawhi.
One, Kawhi's a very interesting fellow, but to give him the benefit of the doubt here, I think I see where he's coming from, in the sense that he's just looking at it from his own perspective of, I'm trying to build myself up. I'm a proven playoff performer. I'm only going to do this when there's something to be gained for me and my team. And so Clippers clearly treated this as a serious endeavor. They wanted to do a little dress rehearsal against a quality team that was trying to beat them and play Kawhi heavy minutes, Brez. And so I think they accomplished it on many levels. So it's fair for them to feel that way. But to say none of the rest of it matters, I think is a little inaccurate.
Yeah, look, I give Kawhi a lot of credit. He's had a really good calendar year so far after kind of being quiet the first half of the season. Recently had like 40 points in 40 minutes against the Pelicans. So he personally has been ratcheting up his own game. There's no doubt about it. And he's a gifted player. We forget how good his mid-range is, Kev, but last night he was definitely demonstrating it a lot. And he's trying to carry a heavy load. It's kind of like when LeBron was out, AD had to put his better foot forward. Now without Paul George, these guys have to rely on Kawhi a lot more. I'm not sure I would play him 24 minutes in the second half in any of these next few games, but hey, the Clippers did what they had to do. Obviously an important game for them. Even if it was kind of a dress rehearsal for a playoff situation, they got the win.
I'll certainly give credit to Kawhi that he's a very consistent man. I expected nothing else than that answer.
Yeah.
Before the game, Ty Lue was asked about double teaming Anthony Davis. Mike Trudell tweeted this. Ty Lue said that if AD plays, it'll be harder for the Clippers to double him, as they often in recent matchups do to some of their new acquisitions in terms of shooting and spacing. Now, if you watched the matchup, you saw that his coaching plans may have changed. Clippers made sure that Anthony Davis was a priority and doubled frequently, which had an effect on his game after averaging 34 points on 61% shooting. AD finished with 17 points on the night, hitting 7 for 14 from the field and only going to the line 4 times. However, LeBron wasn't surprised at the least.
Ty had said before the game he wasn't going to double AD, and obviously that took place.
Y'all believe that?
Not really.
Oh, okay, good.
What do you guys do when teams are going to do that to him?
We got to be in the right spots at the right time. And we got to, put ourselves in position and put guys in position to be successful. We should go into every game with the mindset that the teams are going to double AD because of how great of a player he is.
No matter how you interpreted that quote from Ty Lue before the game, I think we can all agree that any smart coach and smart team would double Anthony Davis. Why? Because he is the key of this squad, Bress.
He's going to see a lot of trick defenses, a lot of junk defenses, and has throughout the probably second half of the season, to say the least. Toronto, we were talking about this on the podcast. They had the defense where they just fronted him the entire time. And last night you saw a lot of double teams. Look, it's not the first time it's happened. It's not the 10th time it's happened. So, LeBron's right. They got to get used to it. They absolutely have to get used to it. And I felt like at times they did last night. They had a nice little run where they kind of got back into it, made the Clippers sweat a little bit, made Kawhi play all of the second half. But this is nothing new to me, the fact that, AD's double team, just the shooters need to make more of their shots. Didn't always happen last night, Kev.
Yeah, hard to gauge too much from that game, given what we already talked about, the situational negative that the Lakers were coming in at a huge deficit. So guys were moving slowly, AD included, LeBron first half. So all that made it a tough dress rehearsal, but it is a valuable dress rehearsal for the Lakers. That is going to happen to them. They have this new supporting cast that needs to get in the right spots for both LeBron and AD when they get doubled. And so I think that Ty Lue is probably treating it properly in the sense that this is something that his defense, which hasn't been good, needs to get better at in the playoffs. They're going to have to attack superstars this way. And so it makes sense that they're trying to use this as a test run. And the Lakers didn't really respond, but how much of that is just them not playing well because they're kind of weary and tired? How much is because they're not on the same page? They've been pretty much, on the same page for the last 10 games.
Kevin Ding, I'll come back to you on this one just because you had mentioned, I don't know if there is necessarily a bright spot, and I agreed with you, but then it just kind of took me back thinking of this conversation. If there was a positive, LeBron did say, when you think about seeing these double teams for Anthony Davis in a game like last night, it's now on film for the Lakers to be able to use going forward. And it's something, obviously, as we know, they should be prepared for.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of the NBA playoffs is you don't know if it's going to happen game 1. You don't know if it's going to happen game 4, game 7. Like, there'll be things mixed in, but there'll be certain games where an opponent says, all right, we're doubling AD from the tip. We're going to make all these other guys beat us, and we're going to come at him in all these different ways. We're going to hedge. We're going to come with triple teams. Like, there's a million things that can happen. And so, especially when you have new teammates, you have to be able to have some sort of feel for what's going to happen. AD knows how to play when he gets triple teams or guys dig on him or whatever. He knows how to play, but if a guy hasn't played with a player like him, then there'll be that moment of indecision what to do. So LeBron's an absolutely valuable opportunity for the Lakers to, even if they didn't execute well around it,
correct,
they got a little bit out of it.
Yeah, this wasn't like that recent game where he had 8 shots. And we all stood up here and said, whoa, what just happened with 8 attempts for AD? I'm not that concerned about the way he played. The guy knows how to play. He's one of the best passing big men in the game nowadays. I mean, he's very gifted. Not quite Pau Gasol good, who's probably the best passing Laker I ever saw as a big man. But I'm not too worried about it. It's one game. Still got his 14 shots up. And I blame fatigue a little bit, too, as we have a little bit already for what happened last night.
May have been a loss last night, but the both of you are the exact opposite right now.
No fatigue.
Winning game